Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 10 versus 10 on Lenina, and I'm going to be playing with the first LOVAS, and if you look at the right side of the screen, so are 7 other people on the team. We have a couple of people who are playing the 20th Panzer and the Festung Dunkirken, but the other 8 players, including myself, are playing the first LOVAS. So I set this up on stream. It was a lot of fun. If you want to come along to Steel Division Sunday, come along on Sunday at 8 PM to my Twitch channel. We do some fun 3v3, 4v4s and 10v10s, and you're welcome to get involved if you have the game. So yeah, come along and join in. But let's have a look at what we're getting down at the start of the game. Well, it's pretty simple really. We have ourselves 7 Turan 2s, and we have ourselves 7 Turan 1s. And each of these will be pumping out a lot of firepower due to the Turan 1s having 17 round per minute rate of fire and the Turan 2s having 12 round per minute rate of fire, so they can fire exceptionally quickly. And you've got to bear in mind that the Turan 1s are also 2 veterancy, which means that this rate of fire is more like 20 plus. So yeah, I'm just going to be charging these towards the enemy. We are up against some pretty decent battle groups today. There is like a 7th Armoured, for example. There's Moskaya, 4th Canadians, 1st SSB. All of those are pretty decent. So there's a 29th that can put out IS-2s. And obviously, Turan's not going to be dealing with IS-2s very well. Either way, I am going to be coming under fire by a Firefly and a 17 pounder, which is not a great combination to start with. The Turan's well outranged at the moment. So you can see the initial tanks on the left taking hits and being forced to fall back, and since my units are a little closer together than I would have liked, we are sharing a little bit of the suppression. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow the Turan 1s to continue pushing forwards while the Turan 2s sit back and engage at range, trying to take out the assault pioneers and infantry and so on. So the Turan 1s, they need to get close because they don't have the heat rounds, and their AP shells can only be fired at like 1,000 meter range with 75 millimeters of penetration. So they've got to get right on top of the Shermans in order to get penetration chance. So I'm traveling nice and close up, and now I'm going to be trying to do the same with the Turan 2s because these have a 1,250 meter range heat round. But in order to fire the heat round, I need to turn off the AP round, which I haven't done yet, until I kindly get reminded in the chat during the stream. But the Stuart here should be able to be killed off by the Turan 1. We've got adequate penetration there to take that out, and you can see that we do trade. And the Turan 2s are going to be heroically charging across the open to try and engage the rest of these forces, but alas, these medium tanks much stronger than my poor Turans. Thankfully, I've now turned off the AP so we can use the heat round, and the heat round at this range has 35% penetration, so it's actually pretty good. We're able to take out the Firefly 5C, and with the rate of fire, I'm hoping that we'll be able to take out the Sherman, because the Sherman only has 7 round per minute rate of fire. It's going to be like 8 round per minute because it has 1 veterancy. But these Turan 2s currently doing a good job. You can see I've also got the BMW Solothurn coming up to provide us with recon information, allowing me to engage any infantry or AT guns that remain hidden. So for example, the 6 pounder gets revealed on the left hand side. We see the assault pioneers again. But the Turans doing their best right now. At 12 round per minute rate of fire, trying to get on target will help us crack down on the 6 pounder over here a little bit, and the bailout onto the Cromwell 5 is welcome from Spicy's Pack 40. I'm going to be trying to get into sort of closer range cover here if I can, but Desert Rats Field Engineers out in the open, going to be engaging those. Last Turan 2 goes down though from my initial push, and I decide to just back it up for the time being, as we don't really have the critical mass to continue this push. But it was a pretty successful push, to be honest. The Turans are only 40 points, and the Turan 1s are even cheaper. So we got pretty good value killing, you know, like a Sherman, the Firefly, the 17 pounder, the Cromwell's gone down there, the 6 pounder went down the left, we killed the Stuart on the right. So we probably traded somewhat evenly against the units we were up against, and that's perfectly fine by me for what is a pretty silly strategy at the start of this game. I wouldn't recommend doing that, putting a load of Turans out in the open, but it is jolly good fun, and you can see that my teammates on the left here, Valdis and Endy, doing the same thing. Unfortunately, Endy did disconnect at the start, so his AI took over and charged the enemy as well, which was pretty nice. Bataki here backing up with his forces, leaving Valdis up to dry up against the T-34-85s and the Su-85s here. Now, unfortunately, for the Turan 2s, 110mm of frontal armor on T-34 is much harder to penetrate than the 90mm penetration that I had to deal with on the Shermans. So, yeah, they're going to be having a hard time getting through that front armor. I guess the Sherman 5s in this case, they have 100mm of frontal armor. That's still going to give the Turans like a 20% odd penetration chance on the heat round, which is enough when you have the rate of fire to kill those off. So now what I'm doing is, what we're going to do is we're going to come over to the right hand side with the Turan 2s, and I'm going to try and move them through the light cover. And in doing so, I'll be able to get them much closer and into a better position to assault this flag, because of course we still want to try and win the game, and so far we have taken this flag from the enemy, which is the offensive flag on this side. And next up would be the one in this small village. So the Turan 2s are going to have to get into a good position to take that on. And I have my BMW 750 Solothurn in position. I actually quite like these bikes because they're so cheap. They're only 5 points. And they're able to crack transports at the start of the game and do a decent amount of damage that way. They used to be a lot stronger, but since they made it so that killing a transport doesn't entirely kill the people inside, they're not as good as they once were. But still very mobile and very good optics. So yeah, still handy to have around. Meanwhile in the town, things not going so well. The nice thing about the first LOVAS though is they do have pretty good infantry. It's just that it looks like our Vestung Dunkirchen player struggling with the use of the disheartened troops. I feel like disheartened troops at the moment in the game are actually not very good at all unless you really do utilize military police. So just bear that in mind. The trouble is they nerfed them a little while back where they made disheartened units take more suppression, and also they nerfed fallback, so when your unit's falling back it now takes more damage than it used to, which makes the effectiveness of disheartened units in waves a lot worse than it used to be. I'm going to be bringing up my own Pack 40 now, and the rest of my Turans are slowly but surely arriving. I'm also going to be bringing up a commander now, because I want to make sure that I get the most out of the rate of fire from the Turan 2s, and in order to do that I'm going to need a leader, which I have already ahead here, the Arkas Tist. They're going to move up, provide veterancy for the Turan 1 or Turan 2, so that will push them to 1 veterancy, and then with the commander it will be 2 veterancy. So we're going to push that 12 round per minute rate of fire to something like 15 round per minute rate of fire, which is pretty nuts, to be honest. Pack 40 of Spicy still doing work though. AP shell going to be one-shotting the Sherman 5 there. Now looking for the second one. Surprising miss there at close range. But yeah, Spicy rightfully turning off the APCR, because APCR rounds tend to do less damage than standard AP rounds. It's always worth checking that. Anyway, with all these Turan 2s having their AP turned off, I'm going to be moving forwards to engage the Shermans. Ideally, I wanted to wait, but the situation was ideal here for me to engage. I've got good close range, and a lot of these Cromwells are like out in the open ready to be killed. And you can see there that we managed to annihilate 2 Cromwells and a Sherman with these 40-point Turan 2s. Turan 2s, just such a great unit, utilizing that 75mm heat round. Now the reason that the heat round is so good is because it doesn't lose penetration at range like a standard AP round does, and you'll notice that the Turan 2's AP round is terrible. You know, it's only 55mm of penetration. Now that does scale up as it gets closer, but the 90mm of penetration is good at max range. So This 90 millimeters of armor means that we're getting like 35% penetration chance at max range, which is really, really good for a 40-point unit versus like a 90-point unit, which would be the Sherman, or I think the recon variants maybe even cost more. Okay, 75mm guns of Spicy now coming up. These also share the 90mm heat round, and they have the 12 round per minute rate of fire. It also favors them that they can use HE, which has 2.2 damage, which makes them really, really good at killing off infantry and enemy support weapons. So another fantastic addition to the first LOVAS that they have access to. Yeah, my play at the moment is just Turans, plus a couple LOVAS Federitok for the Arcastis to provide the 2 veterancy, plus the T-38 as the commander, which is also giving extra veterancy to my teammate here, Flying Bob, who's trying to push through with some infantry alongside Spicy. So my Pack 40 going to be moving into position. We're going to be trying to take on the Firefly 5C, and we do manage to get that kill, so really, really nice. Another expensive tank going down. Looking to kill the Stuart as well. That's going to remove the extra veterancy from the Cromwell. Things are going very, very nicely for us. Unfortunately, my Solitaire gets taken out, the BMW motorcycle going down there. But yeah, overall, 19-13 at the start of the game. Things are going relatively well. And my Pack 40 also going to be able to take out the Cromwell 6, so that was nice for me, since the first shot from the Cromwell 6, I believe, went wide. So the Pack 40 had time to get on target there. Now, Firefly still managing to outrange the Pack 40, so I'm going to be forced to move that up through the light cover here on the left-hand side. Big problem though, off-map. That is starting to come in and pin down a lot of the forces of my teammates in the tree line here, and it might stop the Pack 40 from getting its full effectiveness on target. Vickers HMG also taking shots, which is going to pin that down, but thankfully we do get the stealth back, and the Pack 40 going to remain alive for the time being. Now bringing up some mortars, utilizing smoke to get closer to these Fireflies is going to be necessary, so that's what they are being brought in for. I can smoke them off, drive forwards with the Turans, get in range, and then allow the shots to get on target. Now Focke-Wulf 189 coming in with the 450 kilogram bombs, going to be finishing off the 17 pounder nicely, and we're looking for the Ju-87 to get the cluster on target of the Firefly 5C, because I noticed that we had killed off the AA that was here previously. This AA right here, the Crusader AA Mark III, I think it is, with the Tripolston. So that did allow me to sneak through with the Ju-87 strike, but the 50 cal actually pinning my aircraft enough that the accuracy of those cluster bombs was not as great, and now there's more AA coming in on the backside. So Spicy going for the same one, which is smart because he's not going to have a concentrated enough strike to kill a fresh one. And does manage to take down the Firefly in this case, unfortunately paying for it with his Ju-87. But there's one less tank that I'm going to have to deal with the Turan 2s, and you can see here we go with the smoke. I'm going to start moving up the Turan 2s at the same time, and we're going to look to smash the rifles to pieces with HE, and then engage the tanks afterwards. Now, as long as my Turans can trade like 1-for-1 with these Fireflies, I'm going to be very happy with that. Because the Fireflies, 105 points for the Firefly 1C there, 40 points for the Turan, which I'm going to keep pointing out because these things are ridiculously cost efficient and surprisingly very, very good en masse, which we do have a lot of as everybody is playing the first LOVAS. Unfortunately for me, and something that almost seems to always happen, is the Firefly found line of sight through the smoke. So I did end up losing a Turan before the engagement even began. We are getting some free kills onto vehicles on the right hand side here, managing to chip some of these Kangaroo rifles along the way, which is great. And now we're getting plenty of shots onto the rifles, Kangaroo rifles, and thanks to the 2 veterancy of the Arcastis, we are getting some exceptional rate of fire. little bit of a rocket strike coming in from across the map there. But yeah, we've got a really, really nice position here to cover the advance of all of this infantry, and Flying Bob's going to be able to finish that up with his Hussar Goyo Sorashok. So Firefly going down there, really, really good kill. Now going to be committing to the next Firefly. Unfortunately, off-map kills one of my Turans, and the Firefly is going to kill a second. I'm really hoping that Rate of Fire can win the day for me here, because Rate of Fire, it's really, really useful, because every shot you get more accurate. And you can see, even though we're really stressed there, we're able to get the last shot on target to penetrate that Firefly. And we end up trading like 2 Fireflies for 4 Turans. The off-map obviously playing into that as well. But the Turan 2 here coming across, going to be able to get shots onto the Sherman 3, really hoping I can get the last shot on target. And we do manage to do so, so the Turan claiming another kill. Absolutely ridiculous value coming out of these Turan tanks. Now I've got my off-map coming in. They've been off-mapping us plenty, so I don't feel bad about using off-map. My general rule when it comes to off-map is, if I get off-mapped, then I'm allowed to use my off-map. Otherwise, I try not to use it too much, because I feel like it stagnates the gameplay quite a lot. Particularly when it comes to like the big off-maps, like the 132mm rocket artillery. That's not to say like I'm telling you guys not to use it. Like, it is really, really fun, and it can be incredibly effective. But I personally don't like to use it, because I think it slows down the some more like dynamic gameplay that Steel Division 2 can offer. But my 210mm pretty much perfectly on target here. The nice thing about using an aircraft to bring in your off-map is that it can spot for you when those units are coming in. So we're getting pretty good hits on target, and we're going to be unloading transports, we're going to be killing off infantry. You can see that these are 2 places where something's blown up due to that off-map. So a decent off-map strike, certainly going to slow down the progress of our opponents. Now, one of my 81mm mortars already got counter-batteried, unfortunately, after I started smoking on the left-hand side. So I'm just going to be allowing that to try and help with the 6-pounder potentially, but the Turan 2s have already got that sorted. The Rate of Fire there getting the job done. Very nice indeed. Now I'm going to be pretty light on Turans. The trouble with the first Lovash is that whilst it does get Turans, and in quite large number, you have to have them in the later phases in order to get that number of them, because otherwise they don't really have like much of a much activation points to put into the tank tab, because their cards are only like 5 or something like that. So in this division in particular, I've got like 2 Turan 2 cards in phase A, and then I've got like 2 Turan 1 cards like embedded in phase A, and then like 1 in like phase B or something. And that's basically my entire tank tab. So we're going to be a little bit light, although I do still have some Turan 1s. But what I choose to do instead, moving into phase B, because they are available, is bring in the Jagdpanzer 38Ts. Now, these are unfortunately a little bit worse than the German counterparts, because they don't have the APCR, but they're still a Pack 40, right? And they still have the AP shells, which have 145mm of penetration at 1,750 meter range. If I provide them with some veterancy, the 8 round per minute rate of fire is pretty decent, and then it will obviously go up to like 10 or 11 with 1 or 2 vat. So that's fantastic. I'm going to be charging ahead with the BMW Solartherns, and these Jagdpanzers meanwhile are going to be starting to move into the light cover, because if I can get them into positions like Spicey has with this Jagdpanzer 38T, we can cover the open quite nicely. Now I was planning to try and get the Focke-Wulf 189 off map down again, but this time they had plenty of AA to prevent that from getting into position, so we're going to lose that to no strike being landed, and yeah, the second strike of that off map doesn't come into play. Now, since there's the Firefly and the Cromwell here, instead of going through the light cover, we're going to just try and get some engagements going at long distance, because those guns are pretty good at engaging Fireflies and Cromwells at this range. You can see the first shot there landing on target and penetrating, which was nice. The Firefly with the suppression on its first shot, not going to be able to hit the mark. Second shot, also lucky to miss. And our third shot from both of the Jagdpanzers finishes the kill, which is really nice, because without the Firefly there, the Cromwell is outranged on its own, which is going to allow the Jagdpanzers some free shots on target. And whilst I'm engaging, I'm actually going to be riding over with the commander to provide the 2 veterancy onto both of those to increase the rate of fire, so that I can maybe take out the enemy's tank before they notice and back off like he's done there with the reverse order. The LOVAS Tu-ran is still doing a good job of providing us with recon, but the concern for me right now is like, how am I going to keep the leadership close? Because usually you'd have like maybe leader tanks to accompany your normal tanks, because they're able to keep up and they're as durable. But in this case, because the tank tab's kind of rough and doesn't leave enough space for it, I don't have leader tanks, so I'm very much reliant on infantry leaders to provide leadership for my tanks, which when you're doing a breakthrough is really not ideal, because your tanks will always outrun your infantry. So yeah, I'm in a position right now where I'm moving the Arcastist into a position where when the Jagdpanzers move up, they have veterancy, but at the moment they're not benefiting from it. And then I'm bringing up a second leader that can just kind of accompany them while they're getting into that position. So this one will just follow at all times, and then this one will get ahead, so that if the Jagdpanzers get ahead of this one, there's still another one that they can benefit from the veterancy. So just setting up that little net of veterancy there, and you can see I'm continuing to bring in the Jagdpanzer 38Ts, and the reason I was favouring these so much is not only because I've ran out of my own tanks, but also because these tank destroyers are really, really good against Fireflies and Shermans, and also Cromwells, which is basically what we've been up against this entire time. So it makes sense to really lean on these as much as I can. I'm also going to be bringing up some Hasogoda. These are the triple machine gun squads that the Hungarians have, and they're going to be great for pushing across the open, because the triple machine gun allows them to do lots of damage at range. They're also pretty tanky squads, they have a decent number of men, so that helps as well. Same reason I really like the LOVAS Tu-ran as a recon unit. Like, it's not just because of their sick pink ponchos, but also because they are a 10-man or 12-man squad, sorry, with exceptional stealth, which is huge. A big rocket strike coming in from the left, lots of Nebels being used there. Unfortunately for the enemy, missing quite substantially. Didn't hit a single thing except from my poor Arcastist here getting pinned down. But the Jagdpanzers are getting into a good position, and we're going to be able to start taking on all of the vehicles that are coming in on the other side of this village. The only problem that I'm going to have is taking care of any infantry that's left in the village, because I know that there's probably infantry here due to the way that the front line is curving. So I've got to get the Hasogoda to find those and clean them out before the Jagdpanzers can use the backyards of the opposite buildings in order to ambush enemy units. So basically what I'm going to be trying to do is put a Jagdpanzer like in this back garden, and you'll see that if I hold the line of sight key, which is C by default, if you don't know it, and I move my mouse forwards and backwards, we can kind of dictate what sort of range we're going to engage at, which is really, really useful when the majority of the opposing vehicles have 2,000 meter range. But the Hasogoda, they're moving up, they're pushing through. Apologies about the like all of the fences just constantly crumbling. As I move the camera forwards, it's going to keep happening. But they're going to get into position. You can see that we have found some assault engineers here. The LOVAS Tu-ran and the Hasogoda, finding those because they engaged with their Bren. And those are going to be difficult for me to deal with at close range. Also, the field engineers here as well. I'm just going to be falling back because the field engineers did throw their TNT and the assault engineers started to flame me. So getting those out of there ASAP. But the problem is I'm kind of on a bit of a time limit. I don't want them to get more stuff around the corner here and into position to cut off our reinforcements. I want to get into here and cut off their reinforcements. But the infantry is definitely stopping us from doing that at the moment. And there's also an AT gun on the left hand side here that could potentially be a problem and provide us with side shots. So the LOVAS Tu-ran, I'm just going to move them across the open to keep an eye on that, to allow the Hetzers to try and finish off the kill. We do manage to take it out. Focke-Wulf 189 going to be hovering overhead to provide some more recon information, because I'm looking for an opportunity to use the Ju-87 that I have up my sleeve. Unfortunately, Jagdpanzer taken out, and the second one there going to be going down. Third one going down. Loads of them dying in quick succession here as the Fireflies get shots on target. This Firefly having 2 veterancy, but a really nice kill onto the 180mm off map at least. And I was hoping that I killed that before they managed to put it down, because they're most likely going to try and off map this town to push us out of position. And I'm just trying to get the Jagdpanzers into position now that the infantry is being cleaned out. And you'll see here that I'm purposefully using the line of sight to engage each tank individually, rather than allowing all of the other tanks to engage at the same time. So that's pretty important. You also notice that Destroyer of Worlds, he surrendered. So now his troops are AI and they're going to be coming at us thick and fast alongside Generalissimo. But the Jagdpanzer 38 making good use of the backyard cover in order to engage the Cromwell 7s. The difficulty we have against the Cromwell 7s is they do have 120mm of frontal armor. They are very tanky boys. So I'm hoping that they'll come a little bit closer. I will regain the stealth on the Jagdpanzers, and then we can actually kill them off pretty efficiently. The other thing that I'm going to need is like a fresh leader here, so that I can utilize the higher rate of fire. You can see the Cromwells not able to engage. Like, they don't have any recon that's able to see those. They might have recon in here, but it's not directly in line of sight of the Jagdpanzer. So they'd have to have recon that's like right next to the tanks in order to stop me from doing this, which is why it's such an effective strategy. If I move too far forwards and we reveal ourselves to enemy recon, then there's a problem. But it's allowing me to pick these off nicely without having to worry about the repercussions too much. Spicy's Jagdpanzer trying its best to take out the Achilles. Does manage to get a nice shot on target there. This Jagdpanzer 38 managing to get a cheeky shot towards T-34-85 in good time, and Spicy's Jagdpanzer does manage to finish off the Achilles, so that was really nice. Now I'm trying to put the Jagdpanzers in positions where they can engage without being shot at. The T-34-85 proving difficult to kill. Also going to be bringing up my own recon, because it's important that I see enemy recon that's moving across the open. We're going to be taking out the Cromwell 5 there, and we managed to get a really nice side shot onto the ISU 152. That could potentially be a problem. Now, thankfully, it's in the hands of AI, so it's not going to be fire positioning our location, because what could happen in this situation, if this was a player, is they might be able to like fire position where my Jagdpanzers are, and therefore like kill that with HE. Now the ISU takes ages to reload, so I was hoping to get another shot on target there, but didn't notice that I showed side armor to the Cromwell 5, so I lose one unnecessarily. But this one going absolutely ham, killing off loads of enemy tanks. There's a TIS now on the way. That's an artillery leader that's planning to give my tank here the 2 veterancy, but the off-map landing on top of my Jagdpanzer causing problems, and the Wolverine is cutting off my reinforcements, so these Jagdpanzers getting stuck on the road further back. I want to make sure we finish that off, so I target that directly. And another thing that I've now got to worry about is the tank, or not the tank, the AT gun that's in this tree line, because that's also going to be covering this road, and that's a 17 pounder, so plenty of penetration to take on those hetzers. Now meanwhile on the left, things not looking too great for my team, so I'm going to be looking to reinforce that shortly, but meanwhile we're looking to continue our engagement against these tanks. Anytime I was sat still here, I was coming under pretty heavy artillery fire. Firefly does get taken out though. Now my Jagdpanzer is going to go down to that AT gun. Really hoping to try and take out the ISU 152 here. Turan getting a shot towards the Sherman. Sherman was aiming at the Hetzer, so the Turan plenty of time to get the heat round on target. Oh, this is cool. Here comes the ISU up the road, looking for the close range ambush. ISU stops as it notices. Take it out. Beautiful stuff. Very, very cool indeed. And when you're zoomed in like this and you see a little tank engagement like that, it just goes to show like how awesome the fidelity of this game is at close range still. Very, very cool. Artillery shells now landing around that tank as it continues to try and be a menace in that situation. I'm going to take the opportunity to bring up a couple of AT guns here. I believe I was getting low on Jagdpanzers, so I was hoping to supplement by using the Pak-40s. And we can get the Pak-40s into like cover, and they'll have a lot more stealth than the Jagdpanzer. So that'll be nice to use. Just got to kill off this Achilles, which was harassing my Jagdpanzer. This Jagdpanzer should have been moved forwards, but currently just trying to get the Pak-40 on target here. Just trying to get the last shot on target. Unfortunately didn't manage to do so, and the Achilles is able to continue attacking us from range. Nice thing about Achilles is they have very good rate of fire as well for the gun that they have. Like, they share the rate of fire of the 17 pounder, whereas like Firefly, even though it has a 17 pounder, only has 6 round per minute rate of fire. The Achilles has 8 round per minute rate of fire, and so does the standard 17 pounder. So really, really nice. Again, with veterancy, makes them really, really strong. Alright, now I'm going to be bringing in those Turans to reinforce the left. And my plan here was just to kind of do a sneaky breakthrough. I noticed that there was a lot of like high value tanks at close range, so I was really hoping that I could take advantage of that. But beautiful artillery there. Going to be hitting the mark from Taki straight onto the IS-2. Nicely done. And I'm just hoping that the Pak-40 here will act as enough of a deterrent to hold back the armor that we've been constantly fighting on this left hand side. I mean, look at all of the wrecks here. There's all of the Turans, of course, but also the Jagdpanzers. And then on the other side, it's like the Cromwells going down. And the Fireflies. There's just so many wrecks on both sides from these open range engagements. There's Fireflies, Shermans, Staghound even. There's a M4 over here, the DDs. So many wrecks all across the front. It's now a pretty big off-map coming down. This is going to be one of the 132mm off-maps of the either first SSB or Moskaya Grupa Baktina. It's probably the Moskaya Grupa Baktina off-map because the first SSB one is usually bigger and slower. But with the off-map coming down the right-hand side, Commander's going to do a runner. Pak-40 force back as well due to that off-map. But that off-map really not that effective, so that's good. But here go the Turans on the left-hand side now, and I was really hoping to make a bit of a breakthrough there. Now you'll notice that the opponents have actually made a pretty good comeback. We were up to like 19 flags at some point, but now we're down to 15, and the opponents have 17. So they've managed to delay their inevitable demise by a little bit, and that's going to allow us to bring up some more reinforcements to the center. So I'm bringing up some Hasselhock with the MG42, and those are going to be hoping to engage all of these commando units that are making a push across the river. And also it's going to allow me to make my big push with the Turan 1s. So we'll be keeping an eye on that shortly as my Pak 40 continues to engage on the right hand side and put HE damage onto the 17 pounder. Great thing about Pak 40s is like when there's another enemy AT gun, particularly like an allied AT gun, they don't usually have HE. So the Pak 40 able to take advantage of that. And the 81mm mortar, that's now on fire at will, just allowing it to engage anything that it sees. On the left hand side here, the Turans charging down the hill. That is a Rozvedka team, so I'm hoping to take them out because that bazooka's a problem. And the Turan 1s, they're not going to be able to really engage and kill the T-34 in the front armor, so I'm going to have to rush around it and get a side shot or a rear shot on target. We managed to get the side shot, and with the other troops being pinned down, they all surrender, and the Turans push through. So the Turans here did manage to take care of one T-34 here and a second T-34 there, surrender those two infantry units, and now we're pushing through. And the nice thing about these Turan 1s is they're only 30 points, so that's pretty much made this entire push positive already, and I'm really hoping that now I can maybe take advantage of the IS-2. It's really, really difficult for an IS-2 to be penetrated by a Turan 1, even in the rear armor, because the rear armor of an IS-2 is still 100mm, and the front and the penetration on this gun is only 75mm. So you see it presents a little bit of a problem. Meanwhile, my Hasselhock are engaging soon on the right hand side here. I'll be unloading them and pushing them forwards. We're going to be finding an artillerist and hoping to take that out. We're going to be taking out the infantry gun here, and this IS-2 has potentially made the mistake of pushing up on this hill, so that's going to give me a chance to really overrun it. There's also an Su-85 that's a bit further back, but here comes two off maps from Moskaya. We've also got the mass amounts of artillery landing on the Turan 1s, and I'm going to be honest, I took this a little personally. Especially considering that this off map is not really getting that much value. Yes, it's going to be stopping my Turan 1s from killing the IS-2, but we already got the value out of the Turans. And this off map would have been much better used on, say, this position or this position. Like, just put one here, and this entire hill gets absolutely decimated. But instead, it gets wasted on the Turan 1 push, which is unbelievable to me. Also, that's ridiculous. Anyway, Hasselhock's now going to be unloaded and pushed up over the hill to shore up that defense. There was a bunch of airstrikes, I believe, that came in and helped clean this up from my team, so... And they did manage to force that off before I got there. But still only 17 to 15, so the enemy holding on nicely. Werflammen strike, though, going in, looking to take out the Su-85 and maybe kill off the 203mm off map in the process. If it lands close enough, then it might. Unfortunately not. But the Su-85 not going to be able to get out alive. The Turan 1's still going to be harassing on the left-hand side with what's left. The Hasselhock with the MG42s are going to be able to keep pinning down enemy infantry there. And in the middle, well, I notice there's quite a lot of tanks here that are being pushed up by the AI, so going to be bringing up the bomber to try and take those out. And this was more of a test to see if there was much AA. And if there is AA, it's going to target the Ju-88 first, because AA tends to prioritize big bombers. So Ju-87 coming in there. Was hoping to take out both of those, but I only managed to hit one. This Ju-87 is looking to take out the T-34 76, and that one was trying to take out the Cromwell 5 and the Firefly. We do kill the Firefly, we do kill the T-34 85, and we damage the rest. It's okay. It was a pretty good strike. It could have been a lot better, but we're going to get out with two of my aircraft, so overall, net positive. Now it's just a matter of taking back this flag potentially, or any other flags that we have position to contest in this game, as we do want to try and wrap this up before things completely turn on their head. As I mentioned earlier, the enemy divisions are much stronger than ours, particularly when it comes to the late game. Like the first Lovash, it's always been an exceptional 1v1 division because it has really good power in the early to mid game due to the Turans and also the Jagdpanzers, but it doesn't have enough of them to continue the fight into the late game. So the longer the game goes on, the less resources that the first Lovash has to use, and that's why it falls behind to the opposing divisions that can be built a lot more like heavy into the late game. Now you can build this division so that the Turans are played into the late game, but that's also going to allow your opponents to build up a great swath of like T-34-85s or IS-2s and so on and so forth, so the task at hand becomes a lot more difficult, whereas in the early game, if you're using those cheaper tanks, you can get a lot more value out of them, which is why in general the early game favours the first Lovash. Now we're going to be briefly capturing this. There's 2 minutes 30 left on the clock with a 1 tick. What I'm going to be doing is trying to defend this flag using a couple of Pak 40s. So I've got one coming up onto the ridge here, which will be good because it's going to be giving veterancy by the Pioneer Führer. And I've got the other one that's coming down the road here to head into this tree line. But since it was being hit by artillery, I decided to unload it earlier and help engage the T-34-85 instead. So if I can take that out, then the Turan 2 and these Ersatztruppen and Grenadiers can stay in position and hold that flag. But unfortunately, in the meantime, on the right hand side, they managed to push us off this flag. So I am bringing in some more troops, namely Rohamachasok, which are going to be good for close range because they have flamethrowers. And then I've also got the Panzerschreck squads that are going to be good for killing like the Shermans that are supporting them in the light cover. So just bringing up that combination that can help potentially push through, although the right hand side has been off-mapped quite a bit so far, so likely to happen again. Anyway, Hasselhock still trying to hold position here. Unfortunately, majorly outnumbered. Lots of commandos coming in, and these are commando number 10s, so they're the French ones that come with the Vickers K guns. The Vickers K gun at range is really, really decent. But I'm hoping to use line of sight here to my advantage, where I can engage like each squad individually, one by one. So you can see we're chewing up the commandos. We're in heavy cover, they are in no cover. We take out the AOP paras. We're going to take out the commandos here best I can, but beautiful bombing strike coming in over the top from these Ju-88s is going to get the job done, and I'm going to be able to fall back as the Sherman 5 continues to engage. And this DD, it swam across the river here, so nice use of that armor support by our opponent. But we're now sitting on the 17-15 again as we take back the right hand side. My infantry's getting into position. They have a nice attack move order onto the heavy forest. I'm bringing up Hasselhock here to help try and secure this flag as well. So going to be making a bit of a potentially sacrificial play here, where we dive onto enemy infantry and unload super close. It can be risky because AT weapons can kill off your infantry before they unload, and you'll notice that a couple of my Hasselhock have been unloaded early due to the suppression onto their transports. This one I've just unloaded onto the flag to make sure that we control the flag, and then with the artillery coming in, we're just going to be looking for the surrenders onto the rifles of Piat, so we're going to be able to surrender both of those, and we're going to be taking a little bit of friendly fire, but entirely my fault. But that's okay because we're going to stop them from putting any pressure onto the flag there. And then these Hasselhock with their big 31M going to be able to clean out the rest of the infantry. And this town full of wrecks as well, because everyone's using first Lovash. There's just Turan wrecks everywhere because they're just so like numerous in the early game. Like look at that with the sun in the distance and all the wrecks. Like you can probably count like 10, 20 wrecks in this scene. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Just so many. Anyway, Pak 40's doing a good job here killing off T-34s. So that's nice. And we're just trying our best to finish the game. Now, our opponents do manage to capture this flag briefly thanks to the Cromwell 7s. So I'm going to be forced to bring in a Pack 40 here to just help defend against that in the future. My Roha Mahasok get pushed back. And so does the Panzerstreck. Hasarok unfortunately surrendering as they get pinned and engaged at close range. On the left hand side, Others did manage to take back the hill here, which is nice because it's going to stop them from sort of putting pressure onto the hill. That's a lot of troops that are all built up there. ISU 122, IS2, but also a lot of artillery falling on top of them, which over time will certainly do a lot of damage. Also able to take out the M3A1 Combat in the middle, thanks to the Pack 40, so another nice kill. And now just looking for an opportunity to push back across the open here. And there's no point in me doing that before the Hasorok move across, because the Roha Makasok will get killed really quickly by the infantry that are in there. But for Focke-Wulf 189 coming overhead, trying to find a good recon on target. Does get forced back by the number of 50 cows. There's lots of kangaroos there with 50 cows on top of them. So that is causing me to struggle a little bit. But because it is just 50 cows, the Ju-87s have a relatively good chance of getting their cluster off. And I'm able to drop some of it on the left-hand side there. At least force those tanks to fall back for the time being. So 10 seconds until we win, when we get positive on flags once again. Hasorok meanwhile continue to push through on the town. We've got the Hasorok up on the hill supporting there. Left side flag has been captured over the bridge. It's just the stormtroopers that have charged down the road here that are causing problems, but I'm just going to be charging up my own Hasorok to try and help capture that. Now, just as we capture that, we do lose this flag, I believe. So, things staying very, very close. The enemy tried their hardest to hold on. There's some nice off-map going to be coming down from Flying Bob. Going to be hitting quite a lot of stuff near this flag. But flag gets captured elsewhere, and that's going to end the game. 47 minutes, 18 seconds. A glorious showing with the first LOVAS, and Spicy getting a fantastic KD, actually 4,605 kills, 3,125. I say fantastic KD. Fantastic KD for the first LOVAS, I should add. Myself, 4,025 kills, 3,225 kills. Like, getting positive with LOVAS is good, but it's always going to be pretty close because, as I mentioned, you're pushing hard in the early game and you're getting a lot of your early game trades, but then into like the mid to late, you kind of fall off. So like overall, you can see like the KD is actually pretty close across the board between both teams. But yeah, in terms of kills, Turan 2, killing a Sherman and a Firefly, great stuff. This one killed a Sherman, this one killed 2 Cromwells. Like, even just killing the 6-pounder pays off a Turan 2 because it costs 40 points and the 6-pounder costs 50 points. Pack 40 killing off plenty of stuff for us. My off map, this was the first time it hit. It was really good. I didn't get the second strike off, unfortunately, but that would have been nice. And then the Jagdpanzers coming in to hold the line did very well for us. And then that's the Pack 40 that up on the hill to cover the town. So yeah, overall great stuff. And then losses, you can see the Fireflies catching out a lot of my Turans at a distance early on, but as soon as we close range, they're not able to get enough kills on target. This Firefly, however, dealing with the Jagdpanzers quite nicely, and we did get hit by that 132mm off map from the Moskaya, so that kind of was unfortunate. But hey, there it is, a fantastic game, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this 10v10. That focused entirely on the first LOVAS. All right, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.